I don't really understand the hate for Joe Kent, to be quite honest with you guys. Like, honestly, the most qualified guy. You can't find me a more qualified guy to speak on the threat of Iran. Like, bro, like ex-military, ex-CIA, ex-head of counterterrorism. I mean, bro, he kind of has all the accolades in the world to give you all the info that you need on what you need to do with Iran. And for some reason, he was kept out of the briefings, letting me know that Trump was running or going, well, on not the best of information. And the crazy thing is, he took more of the Mossad information than his own CIA.
The reality is, nobody thinks this was a big victory.
The Iranian people are arguably worse off than they were before, and it's all based on Bibi Netanyahu's special intelligence, which cost at least 15 American lives, the fracturing of the Trump coalition, probably at least the next 2 elections for Republicans. So great job.
The Israelis have been slaughtering the people of Lebanon all morning, carpet bombing cities.
And shout out to my man Jet, man. He says, then Israel can go put boots on the ground and go get it. Exactly, bro. Look, I had never had a problem with this whole Greater Israel project. The problem is just do it yourself. No, don't include us. We don't care. We don't want no parts of it. I mean, let us know how it goes for you. If you want to sit there and go against the entire Middle East and have the wrath of maybe over 100 million Muslims on your ass, go ahead. But leave us out of it, and good luck. But don't come crying to us. Oh, and don't try to threaten us with a nuke either like you did in the 60s. Don't do that either.
Just out of rage.
The first thing that President Trump has to do in order to make sure this lasts is actually restrain the Israelis, take away key components of the military aid that we give them.
It would restrain our...
Oh, and if you didn't know, yes, the Israelis threatened to start nuking Arab nations in the Yom Kippur War because they were losing, and they said, look, America, if you don't go ahead and drop those weapons off to us, we're going to go ahead and start bombing these countries. And we did. We gave it to them. We gave it to them.
Our ally, who, by the way, just helped us achieve one of the greatest military victories of the modern era, we would restrain them instead of trying to use the threat of continued belligerence from them to extract more punitive terms from the Iranians is silly.
The furore about President Trump's vow to end Iranian civilization was not about a fear he was about to do that or a hope that he would. It was about the foundational idea that the United States is a bulwark against exactly the kind of atrocities he foreshadowed. If the US is capable and willing to eradicate an entire population, how does it have the moral authority to be a global arbiter of right and wrong? But Donald Trump doesn't seem interested in that. Clearly, he sees the US...
I'll be real with you. We already lost the argument on Ukraine. Like, what was it? We say, well, Putin just walked into Ukraine. He invaded Ukraine. Yeah, you're right. He did. And, he preemptively strike Ukraine, just like we preemptively strike Iran. Like, he invaded a sovereign nation and we started bombing a sovereign nation. Why? Because we want to impose our will upon them. I mean, bro, we can't even judge Russia no more.
There's a muscular superpower which can throw its weight around to get what it wants. And to be clear, many people support him about that. So amid the shrieking noise and spin about the 11th hour ceasefire agreement, it's worth asking a simple question. Did the US get what it wants? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is open, just as it was before the war began. But nobody is in any doubt about the fact that Iran controls it. In fact, some versions of the text refer to guaranteeing Iran's dominance. The Iranian regime is wounded and weakened, but there's no doubt that it's the same regime. Several branches have been hacked off, but the trunk and the roots remain. Many of Iran's military targets have been destroyed.
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. If you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud. Just super chat it in. Appreciate the support, guys.
Iran still has its uranium, its ballistic missiles, and its proxies across the region. The Iranian plan, which Trump now calls a workable basis for talks, includes reparations for the damage caused, the lifting of all sanctions, and the release of Iranian funds seized by the United States. It's a multi-billion-dollar windfall. What does he think they'll do with it? And on the question of cost, the US has now spent more than $30 billion on the war so far. 15 US soldiers are dead. Thousands of Iranian civilians are dead. Trump's approval ratings are a record low, and his base is at war with itself, all as the US prepares for elections, which could...
I know, and as delusional as MAGA wants to be, there is a huge division in the base over this war. Like, I was campaigning for Trump. Please look back at the records. Look back at my past streams from 2024. I was pulling in millions of views promoting Trump. So please don't sit here and tell me that I was never MAGA. Like, I was doing more for MAGA than you, like most likely. So it's kind of crazy how people are trying to sit here and say, oh, Trump never promised this or that. Like, nigga, we was there. I was there just like you, listening to the speeches an hour long or 2 hours long, just like you. Please don't gaslight me. I heard exactly what the man said. But apparently, oh, what you mean? He was always pro-war. He was always about talking about Iran. And then they bring up this BS. I'm gonna be real with you. This is what actually kills me. They bring up that BS interview from the 80s where he was talking about, pretty much going in and taking Iran's oil and all this wild stuff. And you know what? That was in the 80s. And what happened after the 80s? Further operations in the Middle East that proved that, maybe going into the Middle East is a bad idea. And that's what Trump took, or I believe Trump took that lesson. He was talking shit in the 80s. He's seen what happens throughout the 80s and 90s, and he's like, maybe going into the Middle East isn't a good idea. And we thought he learned that lesson from his campaigning, but apparently he didn't. So, we're kind of cooked on that note. Like, son of a bitch.
Handicap or even end his presidency. We should all keep an open mind about what happens next. We should all be grateful for a pause in this war. But if this is what a historic victory looks like, well, Mr. President, I wouldn't be so sure to claim that. First tonight, I'm joined by Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show. Megyn, what's been the point of it all?
You got to say, the deal sounds very much like surrender on our part, which I'm in favor of. I mean, great. This needed to end. Ugly or any other way. It needed to end. It was folly to begin with. It was folly throughout. It remains folly. I'm sure Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham were feeling really, really good until the end part where we had to end it. And now they're very, very angry. Mark Levin was practically in tears on Fox News last night because we didn't see it through, I guess, with the nuclear bomb.
Bro, this man, Mark Levin, was out there crying about Hezbollah. He's like, but what about Hezbollah? Hezbollah is Iran. If you don't destroy Hezbollah, how can we ever call a ceasefire? And the poor Iranians, we're just going to leave them with the Ayatollah? And I'm just sitting there like, yes, bro. Yeah, none of our business. Like, bro, like apparently a good amount of them, enough to keep the Ayatollah, the regime in power, actually likes the government, believe it or not. Leave it up to the Iranian people. Yes, we're going to leave the Iranian people with the Ayatollah. Get over it. Okay. Oh, and Hezbollah, look, that ain't our problem. That's your problem, Israel. Shoot, you made that your problem. Like, while you popped off this war with Iran that you dragged us into, you wanted to go strike southern Lebanon in the fog of war. Please spare us. I'm not trying to hear it.
We were going to drop on Iran. We didn't go in commando style and seize all the uranium. We allowed, according to the Israelis, according to the Iranians, that is, the war against Hezbollah to stop, which he wants seen through. He would love to see Lebanon completely bombed and to be made to look like Gaza. And there was really no point to going forward other than more death and destruction. The Iranians proved to be tough MFers. And they realized that they had something far more powerful than a nuclear bomb. They had control over the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump was warned prior to getting involved in this conflict.
I mean, they literally had the global economy by the balls. And that's what's the worst part about it. I was like, yeah, they closed the Strait of Hormuz. You got the global economy by the balls. And everybody was feeling it and everybody was getting desperate to fix it.
By the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that they were not likely to collapse easily and that they probably would maintain control of the strait and could cause a global economic panic. And he didn't listen. What he did with the Dan Kane warnings was rush to Truth Social, Trump did, saying, all Dan Kane knows how to do is win. And if I tell him to invade, he's going to win. Well, that's not really what happened. There was never any question we could decimate their Navy or their Air Force. Of course, no one would ever second guess the power of the U.S. military. It's pristine and it's impeccable and it's truly awestruck.
I mean, literally, nobody's saying that if we put boots on the ground, we won't win. Nobody's saying that we can't go in there and get our way with Iran. The problem is, how much are you willing to lose? How much lives is palatable enough to you? Because I'm telling you, if we put boots on the ground, we go in there for the uranium and regime change. I mean, I hope you're prepared to see a lot of coffins with American flags draped over them coming back to us. I hope you're okay with that reality. And I hope you're willing to sign up to that yourself since you're okay with other people dying. So, yeah, That's the reality of boots on the ground and escalating this further. It's the fact that, yo, well, how much are you okay with losing? Because I'm gonna be real with you. I'm sick of this war. Just the fact that we lost about what 11, 15 service members. I'm pissed off at that already. I'm good. I don't want no more lives, American lives, to be lost. Period. But hey, some people feel differently.
But these battles in the Middle East have been fought now for 20
and yeah, we could defeat the Iran if we went, if we went balls to the wall about it, boots on the ground, no matter what, we could beat Iran. But like I said, tens of thousands of lives will be lost and trillions of dollars will be spent.
Plus years, and we continue to learn the same lesson over and over. It is not their overwhelming air power or their incredible navies that keep us mired in quagmires. It's their insurgencies. It's this disparate way of fighting that we don't know how to handle. We can't tamp down with the amazing power of an aircraft carrier, which, by the way, we had trouble getting anywhere close there after they figured out how to attack it.
True.
And you know, we've already learned this. Trump watched us learn it. And so what led Trump, at 79 years old, to sit in there in that situation room when Bibi Netanyahu was seated as an equal?
Yeah.
Trump didn't even sit at the head of the table. Trump sat at the side of the table and Bibi was across from him as an equal in the American Situation Room. What led him to sit there and buy what that guy was selling hook, line, and sinker when every other president was able to see through that liar? What was it? Because he was told the next day by our own top advisors, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of State to the vice president, that these are lies and that these objectives are not going to be attainable. Don't believe him. We might be able to wipe out the Ayatollah, not regime change, Ayatollah. And we might be able to decimate some portion of their missiles and their military.
I know. And it's so crazy. Now they're trying to say, oh, we got regime change. You know, we killed a bunch of crazy mullahs. And I'm just like, I'm like, you know, the next, they already got replacements, right? So, and now these guys are more hardline than the guys that we killed. Like the guys that we blew up were the moderates. There are no more moderates, bro. We thought we were gonna blow these guys, pause, but we thought we were gonna pretty much start destroying these guys into moderacy. And it's like, no, now we made them more hardliners.
Okay, that's true. But the goals as stated by Trump when we actually did pull the trigger were all over the board. And to this moment, he's pushing the BS claim that we affected regime change. No, we didn't. It's the same regime, just different players. There isn't somebody more moderate in there at all. We have no reason to believe that. In fact, it looks like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is in control now, which is far more radical. And the fatwa that had allegedly been issued by the Ayatollah on developing nukes is gone. Iran is more powerful economically. It controls the strait and now is demanding the lifting of all sanctions against it.
Yep.
And what Trump did with that 10-point plan was go from Monday saying, no, not good, to Tuesday saying, very workable. We can do it.
Yeah, that's what everybody's like low-key tripping about. Everybody's like, well, what you mean we're going to put that framework around that 10-point plan? And I'm just like, well, it makes sense. If you want to get the strait open, you're going to have to concede something. And if Trump does that, it's going to look like the biggest L ever. I mean, like I said, we were in a better situation with Iran before the war. Now, after Iran got leverage now. I mean, they literally got leverage now when we come to the negotiation table. They got the entire Strait of Hormuz. They didn't have that in the beginning. Like,
as a means of saving face to bail off of his insane threats about annihilating an entire civilization. So I don't know how we got here, Piers. I'd like to know just as much as anybody else, but all I can think in my head, based on what I've read in the paper, is we got here thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, and Mark Levin. And ultimately President Trump. That's not to take agency away from the president, who was bamboozled. I don't know why. He was too weak to say no. He was too gullible to see through the lies. One way or another, he allowed himself to be pushed.
And this is what kills me, is because Bibi's proposed this to other presidents, and they've all told this man to kick rocks. And it don't even matter if it was Bibi, it just matters if it was an Israeli president. They'd always come to an American president and be like, look, you got to strike Iran. You got to strike Iran 2 weeks away from a bomb. I mean, bro, Obama hit that man with the no. And then when they said, all right, well, we'll just nuke Iran, he said, all right, go ahead, do it. Good luck. So, bro, how in God's name was Obama able to see through this? Biden was able to see through this, but not Trump. And you know what? I kind of blame, the people he surrounded himself with, because, and also you got to give Trump agency as well. I mean, he put these people around him for him to be manipulated into this Zionist way of thinking about the Middle East. And I mean, here we are, because let's be real, this is the pro-war Zionist agenda with constant war in the Middle East to pretty much spread not what we want, but what Israel wants in the Middle East. Because when do we ever get our way in the Middle East? I mean, bro, we just stabilized Iraq and Afghanistan, and I mean, that ain't help nobody. That ain't help us out. Not really. I'll tell you what did help out. It took away a lot of enemies to Israel.
Into this
on our blood and on our dine.
Insane conflict that caused forget the blood and treasure we spilled. As you point out, at least 15 service personnel, I believe, were being lied to about the total number of dead and wounded. But we don't know what the accurate death toll in Iran is. Nope. How many civilians in Iran died? How many died in our allies around Iran who now don't trust us? What penalty do we pay other than the cost and the 15 lives that we expended, which count for a lot? But we didn't.
Now, guys, I'm about to say something controversial, so prepare yourself. But like, even when it comes to the protesters and all that, look, the reason why I don't believe that 30 to 40,000 Iranian protesters died on that day is because, you know what? It's kind of funny. Like, the same people who are, spreading that information was the same people denying the death toll in Gaza. And then the thing is, they had names. They had the names of all about now 75,000 of, Palestinians. They had the names. How do we know about the genocide of Nigerian Christians that's been going on for 9, 12 years? They got names. But you know what they don't got names for? The 30 to 40,000 people that died in the Iranian protests at the beginning of January. They don't got the names for that. Nothing. And actually, I did a deep dive on it. I searched up where this 40, 50,000 came from. It was originally 30, but now it's 40. And there's no proof of it. No verifiable proof at all. And all we can go off is Iran's numbers of 3,100. And if you want to ask my honest opinion, I'm going to say anywhere between 3,100 and 6,000. I mean, that's terrible. That's still terrible. But it's kind of crazy how they're trying to sell this war through just proliferating this number all the time. Like, all right, well, it was, bro, what was it? 20,000, 30,000, 45,000, 100,000 protesters they've killed. It's like, bro, chill. We don't even got any of those names. And you can't point me to no verifiable information that says that 30,000 died. Well, just because I can't prove it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, bro, you're saying it like you can, though.
Take the brunt of Iran's response. Our allies did, with whom we did not consult prior to starting this war, who are very, very angry, many of them, about what was done to them. What's going to happen to the trillions of dollars Trump was touting that they donated? They were offered to donate to the United States just to be nice guys and have great relations. You think they're going to spend that on us now? They're going to spend it on themselves. They've got to rebuild massive portions of their own countries thanks to the bombing campaign unleashed against them because they were within reach by Iran, who couldn't reach us. So we've upset our allies. We've pleased Israel, although now they're upset there's a ceasefire. We've upset the American base. The Trump coalition that got him elected is completely fractured and in smithereens. And he doesn't care, Piers, because he doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares about himself. If Trump had to get reelected, he probably would have handled this a little differently. But he doesn't care that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. I think he thought that was a foregone conclusion. And I don't think he cares that J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio wins the presidency next time around. I think there's a piece of Trump that would like to say, I'm the only one who could do it. The Republican Party's nothing without me. And the rest of us are going to be around to pick up the pieces.
I mean, a fascinating assessment. I mean, I remember early on you...
Oh, God, make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, you can also super chat that in. But if not, make sure you double tap that screen and like the video. Appreciate the support, guys, and subscribe to the channel as well. All right, got the readouts done. Fantastic.
Picking up, as I did, on what Rubio had said about the reason why America went in, and then the immediate backtracking the next day, when they panicked and realized they'd let the cat out of the bag. This was clearly a Netanyahu-driven operation. He had persuaded Trump to come with him. Then we had Antony Blinken saying, well, actually, he tried to do this when Biden was president, when Obama was president, and both times those two guys said, no, we're not going to come with you. And then he didn't attack. So he clearly got third time lucky with an American president that would come with him. But I remember early on, you and I and others who dared to suggest that we take Rubio at his word, that actually this was all at Israel's behest. Once again, we were anti-Semitic if we said that. Facts. This was a hatred of Israel that was driving our warped, crazed minds. And then you read this deep dive in the New York Times. Fascinating. I mean, what's most fascinating to me, they've got somebody on the inside telling them exactly what happened in that situation room, which is fascinating. But when you see it all laid out, it's crystal clear. That's exactly what happened. That Netanyahu got in that situation room at the White House, like you say, unprecedented. The way he had the guy from Mossad on the big screen, he had him there with it was like two equal partners. And he persuaded Trump in that room to go in. And I think Trump will regret this. Well, you're right. He may not care. He may want to just say, moving on, it's a big victory, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is nobody thinks this was a big victory for the United States. Nobody can see anything but actually a bit of a humiliation, not militarily, because America can beat anyone when it comes to a military punch-up. But what Iran has now discovered is that as long as it can control the Strait of Hormuz, it can control the global economy, and therefore it can, if it has enough patience, play out the long game with the President of the United States, who will have to cave, because ultimately it's going to cause him so much economic and political damage, he has no choice. That's what's happened here. Trump hasn't brought this to an end out of some great desire for peace. He's brought it to an end because he could see that the economic and political damage was getting worse by the day.
Because the Iranians wouldn't fold. They realized what the pressure point was and that it was working. And they watched Trump's poll numbers spiral downward in every piece of the coalition that elected him. And they realized that their ability to just withstand the beating was working, was getting them to where they needed to get. Because look, there was never majority support behind this war. There wasn't some groundswell of support behind this war.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. The fact that CNN tried to sit there and say that, 100% of MAGA supports this war. Look, I was literally saying, well, F it, I guess I don't exist no more. I guess I ain't MAGA no more. And that's how they were trying to frame it. Like, well, MAGA's, I ain't gonna lie. It sounds like MAGA's trying to take off with this mindset as well, a cultish mindset now. Like, we spent all this time fighting how we're not a cult, we're not a cult, we're not a cult. And then when it truly matters to stand on business, to stand on principle, we said no new wars. Bro, y'all start folding. All of a sudden, war's good. Regime change, good. War crimes are fantastic. It's like, what? What happened? What happened? And then all of a sudden, you're un-American, you're spineless. Why? Because I was standing on what I voted for? You're not the spineless one for falling to your knees for Donald Trump just because it's him that's doing this? Okay.
Right, there was a Republican-based support for the war, but the Democrats didn't support it, the independents didn't support it, and very soon into the war, the Republicans stopped supporting it too. MAGA supported it. As MAGA dwindled, by the way, it was already only about 15% of the population. It's getting smaller by the day. President Trump 3 weeks ago declared that to be MAGA, you have to support Mark Levin, upon which multiple formerly diehard MAGA people who are dedicated to it said, I'm out. If those are the stakes, I'm out. Why would I support that warmonger who's frothing at the mouth over the idea of lives being cost in Iran, civilian or otherwise? He's a disgusting fool who's well past his prime. We should not be listening to him, but President Trump is obsessed.
Oh man, if you don't know who Mark Levin is, let me show you a little clip of Mark Levin, just so you have an idea of how wild this man is.
That to me,
the bitching.
People of Iran.
Wait,
What are we going to just leave
hear
them
that
there?
video? Here it is. Let's see if we got a better one.
This enemy is still the enemy. They're still surviving. Their military may be destroyed, but the communist Chinese will still help them. The Russians will still help them to rebuild. And so this thing's not over. And it's not that I'm a warmonger. It's that they're a warmonger.
Bro, we started this war with them. We popped off this conflict with them. You sat there on the sideline and cheerleaded the entire time. What are you talking about?
It's not that I'm an interventionist. They're an interventionist.
All right. Do you think it's not that we're the interventionists? They're the interventionists. Like, we started this war. What part about that don't you understand? AKA, we're intervening in the Middle East again. But they're not warmongers. You know, they even though they didn't start, we're not warmongers, even though we started this. They're the warmongers. Oh, Lord. Let's hear the full thing, though.
There's nothing that we can do, and we're going to wash our hands over that. People of Iran. What are we going to just leave them there? There's nothing that we can do, and we're going to wash our hands over that. That to me is morally very difficult to accept. And then what about
the people of Iran? We're just going to leave them there, bro. You was there supporting the end of a civilization. What are you talking about? You was there ready to blow the whole damn thing up. I'm sorry, but please spare me about the poor people of Iran, the Iranians. It's like, bro, the Iranians was around their power plant saying, I dare you to blow us up. They was forming human shields. They did it themselves without the help of the IRGC. They was literally out there cheering, holding there. Loki having a whole party around the power plant waiting for US to blow it up, talking about we dare you. Oh, and you know them, Allah Akbar, death to America. It's like, you think we're going to get them people to give up? You think those people that like want to be freed of their regime when they're willing to be bombed to smithereens in front of a power plant? Those guys, them, no, I'm sorry. It's not going to work out like that. As much as I wish it did.
What are we going to just
like? I ain't hating. I wish it did work out for us. I wish they did just capitulate, but it's not happening like that. But all right, though, let's get back to Megyn Kelly.
On Sunday, he tweeted out that the Supreme Court should be listening to Mark Levin.
I know.
All nine justices, which would double his viewership.
Yeah, I don't get it because you've been loudly calling out the folly of this war from day one. I have. Tucker has. Candace Owens has.
Shoot, I have. And then I got shadow banned for like the first 2 weeks of it. First day back from shadow ban, which is crazy. So what up, guys? Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe to the channel and double tap that screen so we can avoid another shadow ban. Possibly, I don't know. But as soon as your boys start talking about this war, man, I'm telling you, boy, them views went gone. But we're back now.
Rogan has, Theo Von has. I mean, there is a massive cross-section of people in our world, which is what I call the unfiltered world, where you're not controlled perhaps by other forces that own networks and so on, that sort of send out a directive about what you should and shouldn't be saying. So in the free spirit world, where you can say what you really think, pretty much everyone has been agreed. This looked like madness. There's a very interesting piece, I think, with Stephen Chung pops up in the New York Times piece, who emerges as one of the smarter characters, actually, that Trump has around him, who said, well, how does all this sit with we're not going to go and wage war in the Middle East, which is what we campaigned on? How does this sit with America first? This will have an obvious effect on prices, on inflation, on gas pump costs and so on. How does any of this work? And there's no real answer, according to New York Times, in the room to that. He just raises this specter of, this is the elephant in the room. This is
like really when in the MAGA crowd is shut the F up and capitulate and just go along with this war because it's Trump, even though every other war in the Middle East didn't work out for us because it's Trump. He's just this magical guy who everything just works out for him. Just trust the process. 5D chess. And I'm just looking at these guys like, bro, you serious? Like every time we go into the Middle East, it never works out well for us. I mean, you got to be insane to keep on trying something and then thinking it's going to work while we think you're going to get something different while getting the same results. Oh, yeah, that's a definition of insanity.
Exactly the opposite to what we campaigned on. So I think politically it's been disastrous for Donald Trump. And I just don't understand, other than he got bamboozled by Netanyahu, why he took such a gigantic risk.
I don't either. And it wasn't just Steve Chung, who is a master messenger and saw the storm coming. It was J.D. Vance, who, according to the New York Times, was in there specifically saying it's going to fracture the coalition. And boy, is that an understatement.
Man.
Trump is now underwater, and he wasn't before, with men.
I mean, here's the thing though, and bro, I've always been pretty fair with Trump. Like, I'm be real with you. The tariffs, great idea. We had some pretty dumbass trade deals with a lot of these countries that weren't favoring us. And we was able to fix that while also bringing in some money to America and also bringing in industry back here. It's like, you got to love that. And then you also got to love the fact of the immigration. Like, I love that too. The fact that he was actually trying to get, inflation was coming down, gas prices was coming down, everything was all good. And jobs are being added to the market, mainly in the healthcare sector, but we'll get into that later. So he actually had a pretty good start. He had 3 years to go ahead and, or at least he had like 8 months to go ahead and fix affordability crisis. And then he gets into this war. And before this war started, I've been said, yo, if Trump don't focus more on this affordability crisis, and he better focus on this all the way up to midterm, because any other distraction is going to cost him the midterms. And Lord behold, this man gets into a whole war. I mean, the worst case scenario, the worst thing you can do while you're dealing with an affordability crisis, by the way. I was just like, good dog, what's going on? Now you're just crashing out.
Don't forget the gender divide that happened in 2024. The women went overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris, and men went for Trump. Now he's underwater with men, including with young men and young people. The young person coalition that Charlie Kirk delivered to the president is gone. They've abandoned Donald Trump. The working class, Piers. The latest poll that just came out showed he's 2 points underwater with the working class. That's been Trump's base from the beginning. They were the unshakable foundation that got him elected over and over. And they're gone. They're very angry. They care about.
I mean, bro, did you understand the sector Pacific tariffs? When he put 100% on chips and semiconductors, that brought a lot of business back. Like, bro, like, you serious? That's what I'm saying. Like, the sector, look, you can disagree with the blanket tariffs, but come on now. I've even had Dems agree with me on the sector Pacific tariffs. And like, come on now. Like, you guys are crying over nothing. Oh, yeah, the 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals and stuff. And that's how he got, what was it? AstraZeneca to start building a plant in Maryland. Like, bro, look, I don't got TDS. I'm just standing up for what I voted for. That's it.
What's happening in Iowa, not Iran.
I'll admit when
they don't want days and days and more weeks of debates over the Strait of Hormuz. No one cares. They care about their own lives. They care about the fact that they can't pay for healthcare. They can't buy a home. Young people cannot get a home, even though 2 people are working nonstop, round the clock with no vacations in this country. President Trump promised he would do something about that. Now we see the leaked soundbite saying, can't really worry about anything at the federal government level other than military. Everything else has to be done at the state. Then they pulled that down off the internet because they didn't mean to share it. He said it at an Easter breakfast that was supposed to be private. Well, it's going to be the campaign ad for every Democrat in these midterms. So he's lost working class. He's lost men. He's lost young people. He lost Hispanics by some 50 points. Every single gain with Hispanics is now gone. It's eradicated. Blacks, he had made some inroads with black voters. Done. You name it. They're all gone. The question is now not who has he lost. The question is who remains. And sure, it's the diehard MAGA. Trump can do no wrong. He's some savant. Whatever he says is right. That's great. He'll always have those people. You can't win national elections with some fraction of 15% of the electorate. The vast majority of Republicans would call themselves America First, but not necessarily MAGA, certainly not the way Trump is now defining that term. And he misunderstood his own base twice critically in the past year. And both times are really undermining him right now. One was Epstein.
Well, I'm be real with you. He misunderstood, I would say probably like what, 30% of his base. I think 70% of MAGA is still with him, but he misunderstood 30% of his base because he thought that no matter what he did, that, you know, we were just going to back him up on it. We were just going to say, oh, it was the best idea ever. Just trust the process. But that wasn't true with all of us. That wasn't true with all of us, guys. As much as y'all like to say that MAGA's a cult and we all think alike, nah, that's not true. Trust me, I don't even think that way of you crazy leftists.
thinking he could just say, Epstein, who still cares about
Well, the
that?
liberals.
No one's talking about Epstein. He misread the base, which very much cared about Epstein, not so much because they care about Jeffrey Epstein, but they care about elites being able to get away with murder and protect each other when the common man cannot. And the unwillingness to turn over stones that the base had been demanding be turned over so we could figure out, is there some sort of child predator sex ring? Is there an elite cabal working to hurt people that gets protected because they have money and we don't? And Trump could not get rid of that with a shrug of a shoulder. And ultimately, it resulted in legislation he had to pretend he favored that was crammed down his throat and he had to sign, though it had enough loopholes in it to drive a Mack truck through.
Yep.
But in any event, it was a step forward on Epstein that he didn't want to make and was forced to. And this is the second
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And this is
I ain't gonna lie, that hurt Trump as well, too. It was the BSing about the Epstein files, pretty much telling us it was a Democrat hoax. Shout out to Thomas Massey and Rohana for getting out the or for pushing the Epstein Transparency Act. And then they completely bullshit us with that, with all these damn redacted pages. So, I mean, yeah, she got a point. The way Trump handled the Epstein files was atrocious. And he honestly should have just asked for a full release, full unredaction, all 3 to 6 million files, because apparently we got 3 million. There's another 3 million to go that we've just been told that we got to kick rocks on because they're not doing it. They're not giving it to us. And we're supposed to trust that? We're supposed to trust y'all on that. We're just supposed to trust that, oh, no, there's nothing more, nothing crazier to see in here. Bro, we looked at the first batch. We found out these motherfuckers might be eating kids. Bro, we looked at the first batch and somehow Jeffrey Epstein was able to get a cloth of the cabal. It's like, how do you do that? Like, bro, we found out the man was working for the Rothschilds. What do you mean? No, we want the whole thing now. We need more.
Much, much bigger and more serious betrayal of what he ran on and of what was important to his base, which does include the America Firsters and not just MAGA. Or as Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying, at this point, she's not America First. She's America only. And I think a lot of us are getting to that point. We are sick of being the policemen of the world, of being dragged into conflict after conflict by Bibi Netanyahu, by Israel, who's supposed to be our special ally. But what they're special at is getting us to fight their wars and get involved in their conflicts that they can't fight by themselves. That's what Dan Kane said to President Trump the day after Netanyahu came for the 7th time and was sitting in that situation room like an equal. He said that they're great on intelligence. That's supposed to be the area in which they're so special to us. They share their intelligence. They're great on it. But that intelligence doesn't always seem to pan out. Like, the regime will fall easily. The Iranian people will revolt in the streets and take over. With how? They don't have guns, bombs.
Man, and let me tell you something about Iran that a lot of people don't know, because a lot of people don't understand Iran's demographics whatsoever, and the voting bloc of Iran as well. Because people would tell you that 80% of the people of Iran disagree with the regime, right? Or they want the regime gone. And the problem is that was polled from 500,000 Iranians, and that's it, right? But what if I told you that I got about 61 million Iranians that registered to vote in an Ayatollah-controlled election? So Iranians, believe it or not, they do have a democracy. Yeah, I know, but a democracy with a supreme leader. It's funny, but it's real. And the way they vote for their presidents is that they have 5 candidates that must be approved by the Ayatollah and the religious clerics. So basically, the Ayatollah controls the president or control who the presidential candidates are. And AKA, if you're an Iranian citizen and participating in this election, you're basically participating in an election that the Ayatollah controls. 61 million people registered to vote in an election that the Ayatollah controlled. 30.5 million people voted in that election that the Ayatollah controlled. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's millions of people that actually supports this regime. At least 30 million.
Be raining down. Wasn't this thought through? There isn't regime change. The Iranian people are arguably worse off than they were before. And it's all based on Bibi Netanyahu's special intelligence, which cost at least 15 American lives, the fracturing of the Trump coalition, probably at least the next 2 elections for Republicans, not to mention the amount of lives and blood and treasure that was spilled in the Middle East. So great job.
Megyn, got to leave it there. Wish I could talk to you for another hour because it's blistering stuff, but you're so right. You said at the start, one word, folly. What a folly it's been. And I think the repercussions are going to be enormous. Thank you very much, Dave, for joining me.
Good to see you.
Just about everybody on all sides of the Iran war debate is taking a victory lap today. Everybody was right, it seems, and everybody has won. The notable exception is Israel, as we speak, is continuing.
Here's the thing, though. I know I was right, but I didn't want to be right. That's the problem. Like, who wants to be right about this?
To pound Lebanon. Israeli officials say the ceasefire doesn't include Lebanon and the war must go on, a direct contradiction of the Pakistani and US position. Today, the leader of Israel's opposition said that if this ceasefire is as good as it gets, it will amount to, quote, one of the most severe strategic failures in Israeli history. None of this bodes well for a permanent end to the war, unless, that is, President Trump is about to break with Bibi Netanyahu. Somewhat lost in the excitement